Today I'll be making a butternut squash soup. You can either use 1 to 2 butternut squashes, and today I chose to use one because I'm making a soup for 2 people. And what you want to do is you want to first cut up the squash and then peel it. After you have peeled your squash, you want to cut it up in half and take out all the seeds. After you have taken all the seeds out, you want to cut up the squash in cubes. Try to keep them the same size so that they all cook at the same time. And then you can set the cubes into a bowl with cold water, and then you can set your seeds aside. What I like to do is I dry all of my seeds, and then in the springtime I start to plant them so that in the summer, at the end of the summer, I have a nice batch of squashes, which is quite lovely. So after you have cut your squashes, you want to prepare your other vegetables and spices that will go into the soup. So celery is a great addition to a soup. You can either use fresh celery or you can use dried celery. Either one would be good enough for this kind of soup. So once you have all of your garnishes and spices ready for the soup, you would have them all together. So we have some salt, pepper, some chicken broth, some celery, some red onions. You can also use regular onions. I have some garlic. I have it minced. And then I have the squash that I prepared and some water for the soup. So once you have all of your ingredients ready for your soup, you want to get a small to medium-sized pot ready, and I started on a medium heat, and then I throw in the onions, the garlic, celery, so I heat this up first. I put a little olive oil prior to putting these ingredients in. You could put a water if you don't want to put oil, or you could put any type of oil that you choose to use. You stir them up and you just saute them for a while. So you saute them up for about, I would say 10 minutes until they are a little bit firm, a little bit cooked. And then you can start adding in your next ingredients. I would add in my chicken broth. Some people prefer beef, some, you could keep it vegetarian, so you could do a vegetable broth. And you just add that to the ingredients that we've already put in to keep them moist. So we just stir it up. Yep, so we're now cooking them at a medium heat until we get them nicely cooked, but not all the way cooked. You just want to keep them so that when you add the squash in, it's not too mushy. So now that we've had the first ingredients been cooking for a while in the chicken broth, we're now going to add the squash that we've cut up. And we're always stirring so that there's a good balance to all of the ingredients. And so that the squash can balance with the spices and the other garnishes that we've put in. So now we're going to add a bit more spices. We have some pepper here. And some salt. Stir it up again so that again the spices with the squash, it's a good balance. I like to have a balanced flavor, so I continuously stir as I add each ingredient in. And now some water so that we can cover the level of the squash and the onions and garlic and celery that we've previously put in. So now we have it all balanced so that everything can cook nicely. So we will turn the heat up on this and then we'll cover it so that it can cook. I would say cooking it for about 20 to a half hour is a good time, and then you can always check it to see how it's cooking and if the squashes are fully cooked. You can always monitor it on how well it's cooked, and then I would get a knife and just test out the texture of the squashes, and once I know they are fully cooked, that the knife can go through, I'm satisfied. Then I'll turn the heat down and then I will blend all of the ingredients that I put into the soup to make it more smooth. Now it's up to you if you want to have it a little bit chunky or fully blended. It's up to you and your preference. I prefer fully blended, which is quite nice. So after a while of cooking, I add a little bit more spices, and now it's your preference of what you like as spices. This is some dried parsley. In the summertime, I would put fresh parsley just because I have more access to it. And then again, stirring it up. Now you can either leave your soup the way it is. I tend to like cream in my soup sometimes, so I chose sour cream here. Now you have you can use yogurt, you can use table cream. Again, it's up to your preference and your palate and what you prefer. So I make sure that this is thoroughly blended in because of the heat, and I continuously stir it and put it at high heat. And once I'm satisfied with the texture and that it's all blended in, I then serve it. Now you can either serve it by itself, or you could put garnishes on top like Parmesan cheese. You could put some fresh spices. It's all up to you. But this is the end result of the butternut squash soup, and I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and we hope you can subscribe to our page, like it, share it, hit that notification button. Thank you.